Hey class, I am doing this first video, so it might not be the greatest quality, but that's okay. um, I want to take a look at chapter 5. I know you guys probably don't have your math books with you, but that's okay. I was told by your substitute that there was actually most of the class that struggled with chapter 5, so I wanted to revisit it. I'm not going to do all of chapter 5 today. My goodness, that'd be crazy. But I want to start with the first lesson out of chapter 5, and that lesson is on solving systems of linear equations by graphing. Now, guys, part of this first lesson is actually stuff that you already learned before I left to go on maternity leave. So, just to refresh your memory real quick, you guys know what linear equations are. These are both linear equations. Now, if it's called a linear system, guys, all that means is it's two or more equations that have the same variables. So both of these equations have a y and they both have an x. So these are linear systems right here. What would make this wrong is if, let's say, this x were squared or something. Then we can't do that. Okay. Anyway, so we have a linear system here. So we want to solve this by graphing. The first thing you're going to do is you're actually going to split. We've got two equations here. I'm going to split them because we want to make those boxes. We've made them in the past, and basically they're boxes that are going to give us points to graph them. So I'm going to start over here. Here's my first one, y equals 2x plus 5, and I'm going to make a box under it. Okay, and over here, my second equation is y equals negative 4x minus 1, and I'm going to make a box under it. Okay, now, I went ahead and made both boxes, but I'm going to work on them one at a time. Up at the top, I'm going to have a column for x, a column for y, and the last column is going to be my point column. Basically, I'm just going to be putting them together, x and y. I'll go ahead and make those headers over here as well, because we're going to have an x, we're going to have a y, and we're going to have an xy where we put them together as a point. Now, if you guys remember with making these boxes, you get to pick the x values. I don't care what you pick, just pick something. I'm going to pick 0 and negative 2. Again, you can pick 1 and 0, you can pick whatever you want. Now, what you do is you're going to pretend that you are taking this, not really pretend, you're actually going to do it. You're going to take this x value and you are going to substitute this x value of 0 into this equation where x is at. So if this were 0, 2 times 0 is 0, plus 5, the y value would be 5 if x were 0. Okay? Now again, I'm going to take this x value of negative 2 that I picked, and I'm going to put it into this problem. Okay, a positive 2 times a negative 2 is going to give me a negative 4 plus 5. That's going to give me, be careful of your integers, that's going to give me a negative 1. Now this last column here, it's pretty simple. You're just putting them together. The x was 0, the y was 5. The x was negative 2, the y is a negative 1. These are your points that you're going to graph. Graph those. Okay, they should make you a nice little line. Okay, but before I do that, I'm going to come over here and do this one. I'm going to choose the same x values that I picked in the first problem. Again, you can pick whatever you want. If x were 0, negative 4 times 0 would be 0, minus 1, well, that's going to give me a negative 1. If I put a negative 2 into this problem, a negative 4 times a negative 2, that's a positive 8. Again, be careful of your integers. Positive 8 minus 1, that gives me 7. So I'm just putting them together now for my points. And again, those points are the ones that I graph. All right, now, this is not graph paper, so is this going to be perfect? No, not at all, but that's okay. All right, I'm going to graph these points. So I'm going to start with this one first. Oh, I guess I should do this. What do you think? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. Negative 1, negative 2. Sorry, give me just a second, guys. Negative 4, negative 5, and, oh, not negative. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. Again, this is not perfect by any means because this is not graph paper. The first point is 0, 5. So I'm going to stay at 0 and go up 5 and put a point. The next point is negative 2, negative 1. So I'm going to go over negative 2 and down to negative 1 and put a point. And then as carefully as I can, and I should probably get a ruler to do this more neatly. There we go. So I've graphed this first line. First line is graphed. Done. Now I'm going to graph the second line. I'm going to graph 0, negative 1. So here's 0, negative 1, put a point. Whoops, sorry. Then I'm going to graph negative 2 and 7. So I go over to negative 2, and I actually didn't make 7, but it should be about right here. Sorry. But the point is not, it's okay, you'll see. So I'm going to carefully do that. All right, now, your answer for solving this is where these points intersect. Or, I'm sorry, not with the points, where these lines intersect. Now, this is just going to show you how bad this is. This should actually be up here. That's okay. Again, this is not on graph paper, so it's not working out perfect. Anyway, this should be a little higher. My spacing is not perfect. So if I looked at the point where these lines intersect, it should be at an intersect. They should intersect at negative 1, 3. That's where they intersect. And that, if we have done everything correctly, that should be our answer. How can you check your work? Well, you can check your work by putting in these values. Remember, this is your X and this is your Y. If I put in a negative 1 into my first problem for X, it should give me a Y of 3. Let me work that out for us. So here's my first problem. I'm going to write it down here. Y equals 2x plus 5. And the answer that I got for the intersection was a negative 1, 3. If I put negative 1 into x, I should get 3. And this is what we're checking to see if it's equal. And let's just do the math. So is this equal? 2 times a negative 1 is a negative 2 plus 5. We're trying to see if that's equal to 3. I'm circling my equal sign because that's what I'm trying to figure out. Negative 2 plus 5 is indeed 3. So, ta-da! That's correct. You do need to check the other problem as well. So my second equation was y equals, what was it? Y equals negative 4x minus 1. I need to put in my intersect answer. So when I do that, I should be getting a 3 for y again, but we need to check, we're going to be checking that. And I need to substitute in for x that negative 1 that I got. So negative 4 times negative 1 minus 1. Okay, so let's see, we're trying to figure out if that's going to be equal to 3. Negative 4 times a negative 1, be careful of your integers there, that's a positive 4 minus 1. And trying to see if that's equal, 4 minus 1 is 3, so voila, 3 does equal 3. That checks out. That is how you solve linear systems using graphing. Let me know if you guys have any questions. I want you to try one by yourself, okay? Just one, so don't panic. All right, here's your problem. I'm going to write it down here for you. One problem to do by yourself. Y equals x minus 1. Y equals negative x plus 3. All right, try that problem, guys. There's all the steps you need. Let me know if you have any questions. Send me a message in Live Grades. Bye.